Hey there, welcome back to yet another episode of the Regular Guy Vikings Hour. Thank you so much for joining me yet again. We're really starting to to bring this thing along, right? To keep this train going and start making this turn into something. And I wanted to start off the show by saying that I am actually back on Twitter. I was once before, not under this pseudonym Regular Guy, just somebody else, but that old profile's gone. I am now on Twitter at Regular Guy SKOL. So that's at Regular Guy SKOL. So if you're watching this, find me over there. Follow me over there because I'm always kind of making commentary on what's going on in the NFL. Usually, mostly commentary about if it has something to do with the Minnesota Vikings, obviously, and just going to post stuff about what's going on with the show. I'm going to post the shows so that you can link from Twitter to YouTube. I'm going to talk about how I'm doing on my NFL picks every week and what my power rankings are looking like. I've even got some, I put something out there about who I was thinking the team will be looking at as far as the trade deadline goes. I actually kind of whiffed on that one because we traded for Cam Akers, and I didn't even think about Cam simply because I didn't see the Texans as being sellers, even though the partnership of that trade just made so much sense in hindsight. I'm kind of like mad at myself for kind of missing that, but the two guys at running back I had identified were Raheem Mostert and Miles Sanders, so obviously that's not going to happen, and I'm glad Cam is back. That was a really solid move, so good job, Kwesi, on that one. So anyway, I'm on Twitter. I just wanted to say I've been kind of going back and looking at some of the activity on my videos. Things are starting to perk up a little bit. I'm seeing some likes come across. I've gotten a couple of new subscribers, which is awesome. I just wanted to say thank you so much. I love doing this. I hope that you guys are enjoying listening to it. And if we could just keep that, again, just keep it rolling. More subs, more likes. I'm really looking forward to just kind of like doing this and having a lot of fun and having people listen and really enjoy. So thank you so much. So with all of that said, this is a Vikings Lions preview show. We had the bye, so it's been a little while, and we're back. We're 5-0. We're facing the 4-1 Lions, who are obviously a formidable opponent. This game basically will decide who will lead the North Division going forward. So without further ado, it's time for us to enjoy literal Purple Kool-Aid this time. And let's get going, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is this. We're going to bring over my spreadsheet. We're going to talk about the roster because there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Let's pull up the spreadsheet. Let's pull it over so you guys can see it, okay? All right. So as you can see, I've got a lot of stuff highlighted here, and it's like I don't even really know where to begin. Let's start off. I'll start off over here in the top right corner, which is that TJ Hawkinson, of course, his 21-day practice window is open. It opened up as of, it looks like October the 4th, so it's been a couple of weeks. And the first injury report came out because today is Wednesday, and he actually was a limited participant today, so it's still possible he could play in this game. But as of right now, he isn't necessarily, because of I think the way that the 21-day practice window lands, I think it even lands a day beyond the Rams game. So if they wanted to hold him out for both the Lions and Rams games, they could, and then they could activate him and add him to the 53 right after the Rams game, which means he would then, I think, be eligible. He'd be on the 53 and then be eligible to play against the Colts. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think there might even be a decent chance he plays on Sunday, but as of right now, we don't really know. So he was limited in practice, but all of the reporting I've been hearing is that he's been looking good in practice. There was also, of course, the reports that came out this week that Dalton Reisner's 21-day practice window opened. His starts as of October the 14th was just a few days ago. I think it was Monday. Which means that his 21 days will end on November the 4th. Now, I think that he'll be activated probably sooner than that. I don't think he's going to be activated prior to this game, but definitely before the Rams game. My own personal opinion, when he gets added back to the 53, is that most likely Michael Juergens will get moved to the practice squad if they think he'll clear waivers. There's still a little bit of murkiness for me in terms of what you can and can't do when it comes to moving guys to the practice squad in season. I thought that there was like a rule where you could protect guys. But I don't know if that actually is true. I'll have to do more research on that. So if they think that there's a possibility that Juergens could get sniped, they may not do that. So it'll be interesting to see what they will do when it's time for Reisner to be added back. I think when it comes time for Hawkinson to come back, I'm fairly certain the move will be, because right now we have 5 guys on the 53. At running back slash fullback. And so I think it'll be pretty obvious that Myles Gaskin will once again be released. And with the addition of Akers, maybe not re-signed back to the practice squad. He might just become a free agent, maybe sign somewhere else. I don't know. But for now, Gaskin's on the team. He probably will suit up again this Sunday, and we'll see what happens with him going forward. What else? Gabriel Murphy, he's still in his 5-week window, which again, I explained this, I think, in one of my previous episodes, is that when you're on in-season IR, once your 4 games are over, what happens then is that a 5-week window opens up beyond those 4 games, which you are then required within those 5 weeks to then open up the 21-day practice window. So it's basically upwards of 8 weeks beyond those 4 games that a player can come back somewhere within that time frame. So for now, Gabriel Murphy, still no news on him. He's not practicing yet. Okay, let's see. So we talked about Cam Akers and his addition, the trade. Obviously there was some confusion about why we didn't bring him back in the off season. At some point there was a transaction, I guess, that he had been re-signed, and then there was like rumors that maybe he had failed a physical or something, and all the while he had been like working out at like a local Minnesota like place for maybe like just athletes and stuff to train or whatever. And so it always looked like a foregone conclusion that Akers was going to come back to the Vikings. And then when he went to the Texans, I think KOC chalked it up to just maybe he thought he could get more of an opportunity in Houston, which is totally understandable. But I'm just really glad to have Cam back. I really loved what he brought to the team last year, and he looks like he's healthy. He looked really good in the game against us, even though he didn't get a lot of opportunities. But he broke a few tackles and looked pretty spry. So I'm really glad to have him back. I've talked about Ty and how he has a tendency to leave some plays and some chunks on the field. And so I would really trust Cam to maybe be a little bit more solid in terms of just following his blocks, picking up the necessary yards needed to get us into like second and third manageables, as opposed to trying to like break off big runs and things like that. Or at least, when maybe the blocking breaks down, breaking through a tackle or two and not taking like negative runs and that kind of thing. So really glad to have Cam back. And then I don't even know if I've had a chance to address this or not, but like Robert Tonyan and Myles Gaskin have kind of been playing like musical chairs with the 53 and the practice squad. So as it stands right now, Gaskin is back on the 53 and Robert Tonyan is back on the practice squad, in case I haven't brought that up before. And then as we know, earlier in the week, I think in preparation for at least some kind of a move, we didn't really know at the time whether or not the move was going to be, is Reisner being added back to the 53? Is Hawkinson being added back to the 53? Is a trade coming? As it turned out, it was a trade. It was the Akers trade, which I think is kind of like hedging our bets just in case Aaron Jones doesn't go in this game. And so Jalen Redmond, our young promising defensive tackle, he got released, and there was a couple of days that went by. There was some consternation as to whether or not Jalen was actually going to get re-signed back to the practice squad, but he did eventually get signed back. And what's funny is I knew in order for him to be added back, somebody had to be released from the practice squad, and I had a hard time finding out who that was, or I had to really search for it. And so I went and I found a place that had the entire Vikings practice squad listed out, and the one name missing was Jonah Williams. So then I Google searched, hey, did we release Jonah Williams to make room for Jalen Redmond? And sure enough, that was the case. And honestly, I don't think this is a guy that we're going to miss. He did get called up for one game against the 49ers. I didn't think he really had that much of an impact. He was a guy I thought maybe should have been cut anyway before the season started. I was kind of surprised he got added to the practice squad over like a younger guy. Maybe if somebody like like a Tyler Manoa or the other guy that was playing opposite Richter. I forget the guy's name now, but the other edge that was playing opposite Richter in the preseason game. So anyway, Jonah Williams is gone. Jalen Redmond back to the practice squad. Okay, so that kind of brings me to we've covered all those guys. That kind of brings me to what we were looking at in terms of the injury report this week. Okay, so there were quite a few guys on the injury report. Hang on, a little bit more Purple Kool-Aid to get through it. Okay, there were several guys who were DNP. Okay, Aaron Jones, I believe, was DNP. Harrison Phillips, Pat Jones II, Caleb Evans, and Blake Cashman. Now, I believe it's being reported. I don't necessarily think the Vikings have reported this yet, but some of the local beat guys are reporting that Blake Cashman is definitely going to miss the Lions game and quite possibly also the Rams game. And I'm actually going to talk extensively about Blake Cashman here in just a little bit. But for now, we're just going to take that information with a grain of salt. But we're going to apply it in terms of my prediction of who's going to be active and who's going to be inactive for this game. So I'm just going to take the Vikings at their word, okay? And I'm going to say, all right, let's say, for instance, that Jones does not play, that Phillips does not play, that Pat Jones does not play, that Caleb Evans does not play, and that Blake Cashman does not play. Meaning that our actives on game day are going to be looking way different than they have before, okay? I'm going to make an assumption that we are yet again going to call up two guys from the practice squad. I think that those two guys will be Robert Tonyan and probably Bo Richter to replace Pat Jones. Tonyan, of course, would be playing if TJ Hawkinson does not get added back to the 53. Now, if Hawkinson is added back to the 53 and then Gaskin is sent down and not re-signed to the practice squad, then I don't see Tonyan being called up. And then at that point, it could be any number of different guys. It could be somebody like Bobby McCain, or it could be Jalen Redmond. It could be somebody like that. But I think Bo Richter is definitely a guy that's going to get called up this Sunday. So anyway, with that in mind, with what I've just been saying, I think that there's a really, really good chance that guys like Levi Drake Rodriguez and Dwight McGlothern will be active for this game on Sunday. We're going to see what the injury report says on Thursday and Friday. We don't know yet, but with those DNPs for these handful of guys, there's a possibility we could be looking at a couple of our young guys dressing for this game, and maybe Dallas Turner being a bigger part of our edge room, if Pat Jones doesn't go. So it's actually kind of exciting, and I'm going to talk more about it. But without really knowing who's going to be healthy and who won't be, with Reisner and Hawkinson kind of up in the air, it's really hard for me to make any kind of a prediction on who I think is going to be active or inactive. So the way I've kind of just laid it all out, I'm basically just saying, hey, I'll just take the Vikings at their word so far that these guys will be out, the guys who haven't practiced, and I'll just kind of work around that, make some predictions about who's going to play. But honestly, there's a bunch of different ways it can go, so we'll see how it ends up. But for now, that's how it is. Okay, so we have gotten through that. So let's bring it back over to me, and we're going to talk about some just Vikings related news that's kind of going on. So my own personal belief, I guess, going into this game, because I think KOC thinks that we have a real shot at winning this. I mean, we should. We're 5-0, right? We are at home. We are coming off the bye. We are the team with the better record. We should be expecting to win this game. But I think KOC, if I were him, I would think I need at least one of Hawkinson or Aaron Jones to win this game. My preference would be Aaron Jones, because he's just been such a catalyst for the offense. But if we kind of found out that he has kind of a hip/hamstring thing that's been bugging him since the beginning of the during the warm-ups before the Jets game. So it will have been essentially 2 weeks by the time the Lions game gets here. We'll see if he can go or not, but I do believe one of Hawkinson or Aaron Jones will play in this game, which will be necessary in order for our offense to really operate. Because if we don't get Aaron Jones, at the very least, a combination of Akers and Chandler could be good enough. And then if we also add Hawkinson into the passing game, I think there'll be a chance for for Darnold to have that security blanket and to finally have somebody to hit, over the middle, or on short yardage type routes, for a guy who can pick up first downs and get a little bit of yak and just be an extra little release valve, in the passing game, and not have to continue to look down the field for Jefferson and Addison and Naylor. So, yeah, just coming out of the bye, it really would have been nice to have come in against the Lions at full strength, but we're just going to have to hope for the best and hope that our coaches, that the guys who are on the field, play up to expectations, that the coaches are ready with some great game plans. So just like I mentioned before, Hawk does feel really close, though. If he doesn't play in this one, I think he will definitely. I can't say definitely. I feel like he's going to play in the Rams game, but it just feels like he's just super, super close. I mean, already being limited on Wednesday this week just feels really, really good. So just like I said about Jones, he has kind of like a hip/hamstring thing going on. As we know with hamstrings, they can be very finicky. I know this one's different than the one that Jefferson had last year, but I mean, Jets missed like half the year because of that hamstring last year. So if Jones needs the extra rest, give it to him. Don't let the hamstring linger. Let the thing heal fully. Losing to Detroit, I mean, yeah, it sucks, but you can forgive that, I think, because it's Detroit. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. So it's good to have Akers. Be cautious. Don't let the hamstring linger. Let Jones get healthy because we're going to need him on the stretch run, right? If you're 6-0 or 5-1, you're still a great team. You're still way up in the NFC, competing for division, home field, all that kind of stuff. So just make sure Jones is healthy for the stretch run. All right. So there's just been a lot of excitement around Dalton Reisner, and hey, if that's what you're into, go ahead and get excited about it. I've already kind of like spoken my piece about this on the situation over like the last few weeks, and I'm just going to go ahead and stand by my statement, which is that when Reisner is finally added back to the 53, I do not think he's going to be inserted into the starting lineup. I think that Ingram will continue to start and that Reisner will be the backup, and that somebody like Rouse or Juergens or, I don't know, maybe even a guy like Dan Feeney get moved down to the practice squad. Okay, so I was just noticing this as I was watching all of the different Vikings-related shows this week, is that there's only one other Vikings voice / personality that is actually defending Ed Ingram the same way that I am, and that is Tyler Forness. And he does a lot of different things. He has his own show. He contributes to Purple Daily, etc. But he made a really great point about why some of Ed Ingram's pressures are really piling up on him. And it's due to the fact that he's being asked to pass protect for a really long time, just based on KOC's route concepts, right, and how long they take to develop. And then in addition to that, the way that Sam Darnold has been kind of like holding on to the ball, maybe still kind of getting comfortable in the offense, not really necessarily understanding or believing what he's seeing yet. And so Ed's being asked to hold these long blocks against these really, at times, high-end defensive tackles, and he will be facing yet another one this week. So I think, honestly, I've been defending Ed, but at this point, it's like I really don't care anymore. I just want the Vikings to put the best five on the field and have as good an offensive line as they possibly can. I will not die on the Ed Ingram hill. I don't care that much. I just feel like he's been talked about and treated a little bit unfairly. And that's really been my point. So if he ends up having a bad game against Detroit and they do bring Reisner in, and he takes over and starts at right guard, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I mean, like I said, I want the best for the Vikings, and if that's what the best is, then I'm all for it. I don't actually think that'll be the case. So that's kind of what I'm going on record as saying is I'd be all for it if that happened. I don't want Ed to have a bad game. I don't think he will. And so I don't believe he will, and I don't believe he's going to get replaced. So anyway, moving on. Sorry, one final thought. I know I said I was done, but I just continue to hear Vikings content creators, I mean, all of them, practically all of them, they just continue to badmouth him. And there's really no substance to back it up other than, I saw a couple of bad plays, and so that's good enough for me. I just think he sucks. And I'm just kind of tired of the low hanging fruit narrative of Ed Ingram. And so I'm kind of looking forward to it going away in one of two ways. Either Ed plays better or he gets replaced. And then once the black sheep whipping boy is out of the lineup and maybe you have Brandell and Reisner starting at guard, then maybe it's back to Bradbury, right? Then you can start whipping on Bradbury week after week. It's always going to be somebody. But we'll see how if Ed Ingram truly does get benched, I would love to see how the offensive line plays. Hopefully it's great. I think maybe it'd be about the same, and there'll be a new guy to complain about. So we'll see what happens. All right, so anyway, here's why I'm not worried about all of these injuries that have cropped up this week. I actually think this is a great opportunity for some of our young guys. And if the injuries play out like the way I laid out before, where a lot of guys did not practice attached to their names on Wednesday, there's, like I said, McGlothern could get in the game. Levi Drake Rodriguez could get into the game. And that may be a good thing. I mean, you don't know. I mean, these guys could bring, brand new youthful energy and enthusiasm into the game that maybe you weren't getting from the other guys. And I think it could be a good thing. So first of all, if Harrison Phillips doesn't play and Taki Taimani gets pressed into action at nose tackle, at least on the first two downs, this could actually be a good thing and could actually improve our run defense in this matchup, which is really important because the Lions are great at running the ball. So having Taimani playing nose tackle on the first two downs against the Lions, that could actually prove to be a good thing. So I'm actually not worried about that. If Phillips plays, great. If he doesn't, also great. I'm okay with it. In addition to that, I'm going to be getting to my Blake Cashman segment here in just a minute, where I've got a whole video. I got like a 3-minute video cut up of this guy. And I don't want to come down on him too hard. I'm also going to, talk up all of his good attributes as well. There have been kind of like a handful of players, I think maybe on both sides, where it's like some guys are getting talked up where I don't necessarily think they should be, and then some guys are getting talked down where I don't think they necessarily should be. And so Cashman's one of those guys where people are talking about him at a really, really high level, and I'm saying, actually, I'm seeing some stuff that kind of concerns me, and I want to point it out because I think people need to know. That way, maybe you're not, caught off guard, being like, well, wait a second, what happened? I thought this guy was great. And I'm like, actually, I've been kind of talking about this for a while, so that's what I'm going to be showing you. So anyway, I don't necessarily love Blake Cashman on run defense, and I actually think, now that we know he is not playing in this game, having Ivan Pace and Kamu Grugier-Hill as our two inside linebackers in this game, I think actually could be an upgrade for this game. So if you consider the fact that perhaps Taki's an upgrade over Harrison Phillips, because if there's one thing I've noticed about Harrison, he loves taking on double teams, but he's not necessarily good at it anymore. He might have been good at it a couple of years ago, but now he just gets washed away in the run game. He's definitely played pretty well this year, but when he gets double teamed, he's not able to really hold his ground anymore. He's built a little bit higher, he doesn't get that low leverage. Taki, on the other hand, is built super low. He gets that leverage. Even when he's doubled, he doesn't give up much ground. He's great in the run game. And I really think Ivan Pace, as I've talked about many times before, he's great against the run. He's so slippery. He slides past blocks. And always seems to get like a fingertip on a guy. I mean, yes, he does, because he's always trying so hard to get a piece of the runner. He does miss some tackles, and that looks negative on him, but I just love the effort. He's just such a beast out there, and I think that Pace, when he's on the field, plays at a Pro Bowl level. And then, Kamu, I just think he's better at just filling the run gaps. I think that Blake has a tendency to really be okay with just taking on the block, and he's not great at shedding, or he sheds slowly and he allows long runs. He won't even contact a running back until he's made 4 or 5 yards of progress, and then by the time he drags him down, the guy's run for 8 yards. And I think Kamu's a little bit more aggressive in terms of filling the run gaps. So I think if you get Taki and you get Kamu in this game, I think our run defense actually might be a little bit better. That's my opinion. We'll see how it plays out, but that's what I'm going to say out loud. I think that will happen. Okay. I also think that McLovin could be an upgrade over a Caleb Evans. Not necessarily at cornerback because Evans hasn't really played cornerback, but in special teams, Evans has been playing as a gunner. I don't know if McLovin is necessarily a gunner or not. Perhaps it would be Theo Jackson playing gunner across from Jay Ward. But if McLovin does get a chance to play gunner, I'm really interested to see how he does because I really loved what I saw out of him in special teams. He is just a feisty guy. And Evans has left a lot to be desired. He has made lots of mistakes on special teams, and so if Dwight gets his chance, I could really see him making an impact and maybe taking that job and not giving it back. So I would love to see him, play this Sunday. We'll find out. And then finally, Levi Drake Rodriguez. I really hope he gets a chance to be active. Now that Redmond's been moved to the practice squad, that was kind of like the one guy that was ahead of him, that was getting the actives ahead of him. Now he's on the practice squad. This is LDR's chance, and I think it's a great opportunity because he can start to mix in with the defensive line. He can come in on third downs and really provide maybe just some extra, just juice, energy, that kind of thing, in the pass rush. I mean, and he could be a force. And from what we saw, when we heard about him in training camp and what we saw from him in preseason, maybe it's kind of, I know vastly different comparisons here where Justin Jefferson was a first-round pick, right? And but they kind of held him out like the first two games, didn't start him the first two games, and then when he finally got his chance, he blows up, right? And then it's like you never take that guy out of the lineup again. Well, what if Levi Drake Rodriguez ends up being that kind of guy, right? Like a late draft find who just plays like a first rounder. And so is it possible that once he finally gets into a game and makes a big impact that he just takes a spot in the lineup, and somebody like Jonathan Bullard's like, hey man, you're second string now, LDR, he's starting for us. And all I'm asking is that he gets his chance, and we'll see if he can play. And if he can, I would just love for him to get more and more playing time because I think he's going to be a big part of our defensive line going forward. Okay. And then finally, just another guy who had a DMP was, I think it might be a little bit of a blessing in disguise that Pat Jones II could potentially be out for this game because it gives Dallas Turner more playing time. And I've noticed that whenever they have Dallas in the game, it seems like he's dropping into coverage quite a bit, and he's actually been doing pretty well at that. But that's not why we drafted him. We drafted Dallas to rush the passer, okay? And as much as I love Pat, I actually talked about him on my trade deadline segment. I actually think this is his highest value he'll ever be at, and I think we could potentially get a day 2 pick for him if we tried to move him to a desperate team. And I certainly wouldn't want to trade him within the division and have him come back to haunt us, but man, the Lions could really use him right now, couldn't they? So anyway, hey, even if the Lions, I was actually saying a targeted team I thought of was actually Washington, but even if it was the Lions, and I know people would just rip Kwesi, oh my God, you're helping out the competition again. But if the Lions threw down a third down pick and said, we'll give you the third for Pat Jones, I would take that in a heartbeat. But anyway, if Pat Jones is out and Dallas gets more playing time, again, I think that could be a good thing. Just think about it. What if your starting defensive line, instead of Tillery Phillips Bullard, is Tillery Taimani Bullard? Okay, and then on third down or long down and distance situations, you have Dallas Turner, LDR, Jihad Ward, Jonathan Grenard. There's a lot of pass rush ability in that group of 4. And then you can have maybe like Van Ginkel playing like on the inside. Van Ginkel has shown he can play coverage. Have Van Ginkel and Pace, playing in the middle, playing coverage or in run support. I think Van G is that versatile. And so that's why I don't really think we're going to miss Blake that much, because we have guys. You have Pace, you have Camus, Metellus can come up and play in the box, Van G can back up and play inside and play in coverage and support in the run. We have guys. We have lots of versatile guys who can play all over the field. So I don't think that there's going to be a huge impact, but I think people think there's going to be. I'm actually not worried about it. So anyway, I look forward to, if some of these injuries, this could be one of the weirdest blessing in disguise injury reports I've ever seen, because every single one of the guys I saw on the injury report, I see another guy right behind them who could pop up and actually play better than the guy who's injured. So I'm actually really, really excited about our defense's potential coming into this game. Okay. And then, yeah, just like what I said, these injuries may be officially opening doors for some of our younger guys to finally get playing time, and then they could show what they have, and maybe our defense gets even deeper and even better and even more experienced. And so there's just there's a lot of fun potential kind of on the horizon. On the horizon, excuse me. Okay, so we're going to talk about Blake Cashman. This is all about Blake. All right, so right off the bat, let me just get readjusted here a sec. Okay, right off the bat, we know that Blake is going to miss the Lions game and could also potentially miss the Rams game. Now, I've already been kind of harping on him basically since the season started. But one of the main things I've been talking about is that he has been on the field way too much. He has been averaging 66 defensive snaps per game. And for a guy who has kind of a spotty injury history, that's just not going to work. And like, lo and behold, here we are. He's now missing games because he was on the field. I mean, who knows if the reason why he got turf toe is because he played too many snaps. I don't think that's necessarily true. I just think Blake has shown that when he is on the field too much, these types of things do seem to crop up. So if there's ever a really good situation to come up to kind of prove, hey, this guy needs to have his playing time backed off, it's this. Okay. Now, I have been questioning his overall defensive impact. I don't think it has been as huge as people seem to think it is. And I feel like he's maybe being treated or talked about like he's one of our star players, and I just don't think that that's the case. And one of the examples I can point to is that he has played 333 snaps so far this year through 5 games. He has 6 pressures and 14 stops, which is a PFF stat, which basically a stop indicates more or less that the offense had a negative result on a running play. Okay, you compare that to what Ivan Pace has done. He also has 6 pressures and he has 13 stops, which is just 1 fewer than Cashman, but he has done it in literally 1/3 of the defensive snaps. 1/3. Okay, if that doesn't tell you what I'm talking about, I don't know what will. So then I went and looked at Blake's tackles, right? Because there's a major difference between combined tackles and solo tackles. So Blake has 40 combined tackles, 20 of them solo, 20 of them assisted, okay? And that actually tracks for what I see when I watch the games back, because he prefers to engage with blockers. He allows his teammates to initiate with the runner, and then he likes to shed and then help finish off the tackle, okay? So before I get into the video, I just want to be very clear that I like Blake Cashman as a player. I think that he is playing very well, and I think he is a very important piece of our team's overall defensive success. Okay, so don't get me wrong. I want to be very clear about what kind of an impact Blake Cashman is really having on the defense. So some of the things that I noticed about him that I really like is that he's a really nice complementary piece within a good defense. And so although I don't think that he's going to stand out or elevate on like a bad or average defense, he has a really well-defined role with Minnesota, and I think it's working out really well. So he's doing what's being asked of him, okay? He's been playing kind of like an Iron Man, right? They asked him to play a ton of snaps. He's playing a ton of snaps. He's being extremely versatile, right? He's playing in the run game, he's rushing the passer, he's playing in coverage, he's doing all these different things. And so if you keep your expectations within reason for him, I think that he can have a really high impact, a really good positive impact on the success of this defense. So just some of his strengths that I see are his tackling. I think he's really great in shallow coverage. We saw that in the 49er game. He had several pass breakups. I think he's really good on delayed blitzes, but only delayed blitzes, because when he is coming off the edge, he rarely ever gets pressure unless he's unblocked. If he's coming through one of the gaps, he doesn't seem to be able to get off of blocks. But when he does delayed blitzes, he's actually really savvy with those, and he ends up kind of slithering his way through and getting pressure. So on that, on a delayed blitz, he's pretty good. He's really good at cleanup / swarm tackling, right? Like I said, where somebody else is engaged to the guy with the ball, and then he comes in and kind of helps clean up. He's really good about minimizing yak on short completions, right? Like, so if like it's a little dump off to the running back or a short pass to the tight end or a little hook route for a receiver, he's really good about getting to the guy right away, minimizing that guy's yak opportunities, and just being a really solid tackler. And just as I mentioned before, he can do a little bit of everything. He's not really necessarily great at any one thing, but he's also not bad at any one thing. And so that's good. You want a guy who can kind of do a little bit of everything. And then up until this week, he's been super versatile, or not versatile, but durable. So with that said, let's get on to the video. So let's do a little graphic, shall we?
Go look.
All right, back to me, and then we are going to come over here to the Go Look segment, which is all about Blake Cashman today. All right, let's transition this over. Let's make this a full screen for you guys. All right, so on this very first play, and I wish I hadn't thrown away my note, but because I had all the plays written down, and now I gotta like kind of run them and then see what they are. Okay, I remember this one. So let's just wind it back just a tad. Okay, so right here, here's Cashman right here. You see my mouse. Okay, this is going to be a running play over here. Cashman is actually going to get blocked easily by a running back. Now, you can understand a linebacker being blocked by an offensive lineman or maybe even a good blocking tight end. But to be totally blocked out of a play by a running back, I think just kind of points to, I don't know, an ineffectiveness to get off of a block, an ineffectiveness in terms of maybe the effort. I'm not totally sure, but just watch Cashman here and just watch him kind of get blocked off by this running back, and then the running play gets by him. There it is. All right, and it just so happens the running back cut the ball to the outside toward the sideline, and so it didn't have a chance to come back in toward Blake. But I don't think Blake would have got off that block, and I don't think he would have got a piece of the running back anyway. So that's my opinion on that. Okay, this one is a little screen pass out here, so you're going to be looking at Blake right here, and this screen pass is going to get out here, and he just never really gets to the guy. So let's watch Blake here. Also, not a great reaction. You know, he kind of took a step back this way as this play is clearly developing this way. So he's out here. We got him and we've got Pace, are kind of the only two guys right now looking to make a play over here. Okay, so you see Ivan. Ivan's coming up here with this guy. Cashman's already being blocked here. Now, you see Ivan trying to do something. This guy ends up actually blocking him in the back. And then the running back actually cuts it up this way, which then you would think, oh, Blake's going to have a chance at this tackle. Nope. He just never even gets to the guy. He ends up running for a first down. So, just, I don't know, just a missed opportunity. Okay, so here we go. Here's San Francisco. So we've got Blake up here. Okay, let's take a look at what he does here. Okay, yeah, so as you can see, easily blocked, right? I mean, here's the line. Is this the line of scrimmage here? He is 5 yards off the line of scrimmage being blocked. Okay, this run gets cut up. He is suffocated down here somewhere. And just never, again, Ivan Pace gets a hand on the guy. Let me go back. Ivan, where's Ivan? Okay, hold on. Yeah, look at Ivan. He's getting tore up too. I think this might be Deebo Samuel. Obviously, I think that Blake is on maybe a guard or a center. But watch as Ivan sheds and makes contact, right? Cashman is still over here being blocked. You know, he can't seem to shed. And so, you know, and there's a big run, right? 10 yards. Okay. Let's watch this one. So on this play, we have, I believe, Cashman is right. Oh, yeah, I remember this one. So Cashman actually rushes off the right side. This is Trent Williams right here. Trent Williams is literally going to ragdoll him right into the ground, and the running back's just going to go right around him. So watch Cash here. He's going to run right into Trent Williams and get thrown to the ground. Whoop. And there he goes. So the running back, and there's Pace again with the tackle. Another 9-yard run. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Not necessarily a fair fight. Because Trent Williams is one of the best and he's huge. But still. Okay, here, this one kind of bothered me. This was an effort one. Okay, so here's Cashman. He's actually, he's blitzing off the right side. Okay, and this ends up being a running play to the right. And what happens here is Mason is cutting this ball up here, and it feels like Cashman has a chance to maybe make a play on him here and get a TFL. Instead, he don't do nothing. And Mason runs right by. Mason runs for 10 yards. I just don't love the effort there. Okay, this play, this was an overhead replay. Hang on. Good stuff. The Purple Kool-Aid is flowing tonight. All right. This play for me is a perfect example of the difference between the way Ivan Pace plays linebacker and the way Blake Cashman plays linebacker, okay? So, as you can see here, Purdy's got the ball. Mason's going to get it, okay? This handoff looks like it's going to happen somewhere around the hash mark, right? So, here's Pace, okay? Here's Cashman. Both guys, with Pace being about a yard forward, and I would say Pace probably moved up a yard forward on his own, probably because he could read the run coming a little bit better than Cashman could. But they essentially, in my opinion, both have an equal opportunity at this running play. So, let's see Mason get the ball. Okay, now Mason has two options. He can run through this hole. He could run through this hole. If Mason were smart, he would have run through this hole, and he might have scored a touchdown. Because, again, Cashman is being completely engulfed by a blocker. However, over here, Pace seems to be slipping off of his block a little bit, like he does. Mason chooses the wrong hole. He runs toward Pace. Okay, and what's happening? Cashman's way out here. Pace is right here, ready to make this tackle, and he does. He either stops him as a TFL or for attack or a 0-yard gain, no gain. So that is a perfect encapsulation, in my opinion, of the difference between the way these two guys play linebacker. I've talked about it many times. I'm so sorry to keep harping on it, but I know what my eyes are seeing. Pace is a superior linebacker to Cashman. The only difference is he's not built as big and as strong as Cashman is. He doesn't have the benefit of the huge body, so he gets hurt more. He can't play as much, but with the way that he plays, he gets himself hurt a little bit. So there's only so much playing time you can expect from Ivan. Sorry, I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to just turn down. I've got Prince playing. I'm going to turn down Prince just a tad. Okay, let's bring this back over here. Okay, so just if Pace, and again, I've talked about this. Pace wouldn't have been an undrafted free agent if he were in Blake Cashman's body, but had the same temperament and playing style. But I'm just saying that Pace is amazing. and you see it when you watch him on film. You see it. Okay, let's move on. We got so much more to get through. All right, here we go. Here's Cashman yet again right here. What does he do on this play? Okay, it's another pitch play. So here comes Mason again, and yet again Cashman is out here. What's he do with this block? This is actually one of the rare occasions where I noticed him actually slip a block, and I think this 65 for the Niners, I forget who that is. I think Aaron Banks. He's not really that good. So good job by Cashman slipping the block, getting around him, trying to make a play, but he misses the tackle. So there he goes. Mason gets right past him. Just to watch it one more time. He slips the block here, tries to make a tackle, throws an arm out, doesn't make the tackle. So, and then there's Bullard to clean up and Bynum. All right. Now we're getting down close to the goal line here. I believe this is Cashman right over here. Okay, let's take a look and see what he does. Is this the back-to-back? This might be the back-to-back. Let's set this up. These are two back-to-back running plays. Okay, you can notice the situation in the game here, right? This was after the Jones fumble at the goal line, and now the 49ers are driving the ball down the field looking to get this game tighter, right? Because to this point in the game, we've kind of owned this game. But it's 20-7. They're driving. We're looking for another big stop here to keep the comeback at bay. These are back-to-back running plays to Jordan Mason where he just completely owns us. He ends up scoring a touchdown on the second run, and Cashman looks bad on both plays. So I'm going to let this run. I'm going to pause it in between to show you which player Cashman is. I'm going to let it run and show you just how he managed himself on these two plays. So again, here's Blake Cashman right here. This is the first of the two running plays. Okay. Totally blocked out of the play. Mason gains like 7 or 8 yards. Okay, now on this play, now we're a little bit different here. I think they switch positions. This is Pace over here. I believe this is Cashman over here. Now watch this. This run's going to go right here. He's going to run right through here for a touchdown. Blocked by Kittle easily. Easy touchdown. So just, again, I know that Kittle, and I probably pointed this one out when I did my review of the 49ers game, but again, Kittle just completely, and he might be holding a little bit, but but you got to shed. I mean, Ivan Pace, hey, when he gets held too, but you got to find a way. You got to find a way. All right. Next up, now we're to the Texans game. Okay, so where is he? I believe this is him right here. This is Ivan's out now. This is Kamu. He's got the sleeves, so this is Cashman right here. I think I only have 2 plays from the Texans game. And this one, he just gets completely lost. Like, he just doesn't know which hole to fill, or whatever the term is, which run gap to fill or whatever. So here he is. He thinks he's breaking it out, so he reacts to that. And the guy brings it back. This might even be Akers. And he's lost. And now he's swarmed up by he's eaten up by all the tackling. And there goes, I believe, Akers for a 9-yard gain. This one bothered me. This one bothered me much like that one where he had a chance at Mason and just showed very little effort. And this one bothered me too. This is that throwback play. And what's funny is I remember reviewing this one after the Texans game because I talked about what great effort Byron Murphy had on this play, where he literally, they thought there was a wide receiver screen happening out here, and he came all the way down and made a tackle all the way over here from like way over here. Cashman, on the other hand, he's here. You watch him, he gets sucked into the wide receiver screen, just like everyone did. The throwback happens over here, and then he ends up doing some kind of like weird roundabout route trying to like get to this guy. This is 3rd and 12, by the way. He runs beyond the first down marker, and eventually just gets pushed out of bounds. I mean, it's just kind of pathetic. I gotta be honest. So anyway, here's Cashman here. Just watch him on this play. He sees it. I'm gonna take a weird route. There's the block, and he's gone. Never even comes close. Just relying on his teammates to make the tackle there. All right, now we're to the Packer game. Okay. Ooh, yeah. So there were a couple of instances in this game where he's just too happy to take the block and let the running back run right by him. So I believe this is him right here. Watch as one of these offensive linemen get to the second level. He's happy to occupy the block, and then Jacobs is going to run right past him. Okay, there's your block, and there goes Jacobs, right past him. What is that? 16, 17-yard run? Okay, now what's going on this one? Hold on. They got ahead of me a little bit. Come on. Cut that one up a little bit too quick. Okay, so here's Cashman right here. Okay, well, let's see what happens. Probably another instance where he takes on a block. I can't remember. Yeah, takes on a block. There he is. Watch the running back run right past him. There he goes. And he's not even the one tackling him. One of the defensive linemen are coming to get him, but the guy gains like 6-7 yards. All right, here's another one. Here's Cashman right here. Okay, here he comes. And boom. Gets eaten up by the block here. And who's running past him? The running back. Who contacts him here? I don't even know. Is that Kamu? And then he breaks this off. I think at some point they get a flag downfield, and this gets called back a little bit, which is lucky on our part. But hold on, let me go back a little further. But yeah, so this is Cashman here. I believe this is Camus. And you just see Cash come down, get eaten up by his block. Camus is actually trying to, shed and slide off of his block. He actually, he gets freaking held. That actually might have been the call. I think Camus probably makes the play here. That was the flag. And yeah, so he can't get there. But again, where's Cashman? Just getting eaten up by another block. It's so frustrating to watch, honestly. Okay, and then I had actually pointed out, here's 3 plays against the Jets. I pointed this out in Jets game review. But again, just here he is. Just, not filling the wrong gap. There he is to clean up, but the guy's already 7-8 yards down the field. All right, where's he at here? Here he is right here. Okay, I got another running play. He meets him in the hole. He contacts him at the 30. Where's the guy end up? The frickin' 35. 5 yards. And then finally, where is he here? I think this is him here. There's Pace. Yeah, here we go. Just swallowed up. Doesn't fill the right gap. Guy goes running right by him. And it's a 10-yard gain. So, again, and that does it for that. So here I'm going to undo that, bring me back over. So I think you can see the point that I'm illustrating here, right? Is that, yes, I like Blake Cashman as a player. He's been very good for us. He's been very versatile. He's been an Iron Man, playing a ton of snaps out on the field. I think we can do better. We need to lower his playing time just a tad, make him a little bit more effective when he's on the field. Not maybe count on him to be the only guy responsible for making run stops. In some situations, we're going to need a little bit more. And so that's why I'm not necessarily mad that he's missing this Lions game. I think that Pace and Camus might actually be a really good tag team against the run against Detroit. I'm kind of looking forward to see Taki getting some playing time if possible. I'm excited to see what some other guys can do when put in the same situations. I'm really interested. I can't wait. Obviously, I hope to be reviewing a win, but I can't wait to go back and review that Lions tape and just kind of see who is really standing out, who is showing up, So we'll find out. Who knows what the injury report's going to look like, but for now, yeah. All right, so this is going to be a long one. We're at 52 minutes. I'm actually going to be getting to my Lions Recon now. I'm going to try and get through it, relatively quick. So first and foremost, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson versus our defensive coordinator Brian Flores is quite possibly the best coordinator versus coordinator matchup of the season. 2 brilliant minds going head to head. And I personally am expecting Ben Johnson to lean into the run game pretty hard. If he's smart, he will. But I actually was watching some of their games, and he had a tendency to maybe get a little bit, and I think we've noticed this with Detroit, is that they love playing like these little tricky, fun games with their play calling. And I think sometimes they can outsmart themselves. So I'm actually kind of hoping he does maybe what Shanahan did in the 49er game and just kind of outsmarts himself a little bit, maybe throws a little more than he should, and it kind of backfires on him. And maybe Goff turns the ball over a couple times. I don't know, but we will see. So I'm kind of thinking back to last year's game against the Eagles, where the Eagles literally figured out that they could run the ball on us between the tackles at will, as much as they wanted, whenever they wanted, and they did. They just did that to us all game long, and they were basically just forcing us to stop them, daring us to stop them, saying, hey, prove you can stop it, and then we'll, try something else. And we just never did. And the Eagles just, I think we had the game. Obviously, it was like kind of a funny game where Jefferson lost that fumble at the goal line, and then coming out of halftime, I think, or somewhere in that realm, Kirk did that Kirk thing where he got the sack fumble, and then the Eagles scored a touchdown, and they started like widen their lead, and then after that, they just friggin' stomped on us with the run game and just held us down the rest of the game. So as it stands now, our run defense is ranked very high in terms of yardage allowed per game, which is really nice and fancy when you look at it on a stat sheet, right? But due to some of the early leads, in fact, all the early leads we've been getting so far, we haven't really been tested over the course of a full game. And I don't think I'm not saying it's possible, I'm saying it's likely that our run defense will be exposed in this game unless, and again, it depends on some of the personnel, unless maybe Flores has explicitly some kind of a plan. If Ben Johnson does in fact try and expose kind of an untested weakness. And so will Flores' hubris get the better of him? Will he think, hey, I'm not going to concern myself with beefing up the run defense because I don't think Ben's going to go after me in that way, or I don't think we need to because we're already pretty good there. So I don't know if it's going to be an aspect of his game plan or not. I sure hope it is. Will he be expecting Detroit to go all in on the run game, and will Detroit actually do it and go all in? We don't know. Obviously, we're going to find out on Sunday, but I hope that Flores is ready for it. And I hope that Ben Johnson doesn't do it, because I think if he does, it could lead to Detroit winning the game. Okay, so in my beginning of the season offensive rankings, where I kind of ranked roster talent for every team in the NFL, I had the Lions literally ranked number 1. They had in my opinion, the most talent on offense of any team in the NFL. Hang on one second. Just wanted to get something going. Okay. And so far this year, they've proven it. They literally have what appears to be no weaknesses on offense. Maybe their biggest weakness might be Goff, and he's really not a weakness. He's a really solid quarterback. Something to watch out for in this game: trick plays, fake kicks. Be prepared for just against the grain decision making in terms of when they're going to go for it, weird situations when you wouldn't expect a team to go for it. Just basically with this Lions team, expect the unexpected literally every down, because they have no fear in them. They will literally do anything, anytime. It doesn't matter the game situation. They will do anything. So just please, I hope that the coaches have the players ready. Just be thinking anything is possible, honestly. All right. We will probably, just based on what I have left, we'll probably go about an hour 15, I think, which is good. We promise you a regular guy Vikings hour, and that's what you get, right? Okay. So the quarterback. We know the quarterback. It's Jared Goff. He's solid, and he can get hot, and he can torch a defense. He's certainly torched ours on a couple of occasions. So he's coming off his best season last year, where he got the Lions all the way to the NFC Championship game and damn near won the thing. And it was his best year in several years. I think he had a year equally as good back when he was with the Rams. But I think essentially that what we saw from him last year is about his ceiling. He's never going to be Patrick Mahomes, but he's going to be pretty damn good. I almost feel like he's maybe Kirk Cousins, maybe with just a little bit more consistency, maybe a little bit more, I don't know, Kirk just had a tendency to kind of turtle in big moments, or, he couldn't really move around and would take big sacks in crucial situations. And so, I think Goff maybe has a little bit more ability to him. But I think his ceiling is about good Kirk, right? When Kirk's at his best, at his hottest, which is about the 10th best quarterback in the league or so, at least according to PFF and stuff like that. So he's off to a bit of a slow start this year, but when you consider the offensive line, the running game, and the weapons that they have, he literally has every opportunity to turn it on and play great. So it's just a matter of when, honestly. I mean, they're built so well in offense, it's going to happen at some point. All right, so they have quite possibly the best running back duo in the NFL with Montgomery and Gibbs. And obviously it's helped out by they're helped out by the elite offensive line they have. But hey, these guys still have to run through the holes, right, and gain the yards. So they're both explosive. They're both big plays waiting to happen. And in fact, Ben Johnson's really good about getting the ball into their hands and letting them operate in space, which is when they're at their best, because they're great at yak, they're great at breaking tackles. So our defense needs to have a really solid game tackling, and they need to be reading and reacting well throughout this game, and just again expecting the unexpected. Their wide receivers, I wouldn't necessarily say they're great here. St. Brown is obviously a beast. He's one of the better receivers in the league. If he ends up being matched up on Byron Murphy a lot in this game, it could be a huge mismatch against us. And so I'll be really interested to see how that plays out and what our defense does to maybe kind of combat that if they try and exploit that. Jameson Williams, who notoriously, of course, was the pick that the Lions made when Kwesi traded out of the 12th slot in the 2022 draft. He's basically only good as a deep threat. He's a big play guy. So we just need to make sure, I think it's really important that Bynum stays kind of like a single high all game long, just in preparation for those big play attempts, those big throws down the field. And just take away those opportunities, because when Williams gets those big, long catches, it energizes and jump starts the offense. And so he's kind of a catalyst for the offense. And at the same time, he can be a little bit of a head case too, where I think he can be taken out of the game mentally if you can kind of mess with him early on. So if our guys are physical with him and they knock him down to the ground quite a bit, it can really help disrupt his confidence and kind of take him out of the game early. So I look for that. I look for the secondary to be really aggressive with him and maybe kind of take him out of the game. They also have a guy named Khalif Raymond, who is just a solid veteran, 30-year-old guy who's off to a good start this year. He's ranking somewhere around like 40th to 50th out of like 100 some odd guys. So he's like a little bit above average, and he's off to a good start this year. So it's a guy to look out for anyway. He can make a catch when they need one. Tight ends, they have Laporta, obviously, who replaced Hawk after we traded for him. Coming out of Tight End University, right? Iowa. They do nothing but produce offensive linemen and tight ends. And he's already playing at a Pro Bowl level, so he's already a very dangerous player for them. And then Brock Wright is their blocking tight end. And so if you see Brock Wright and Sam Laporta on the field, look for a running play, because they usually they do a lot of running out of two tight end sets. Okay. The offensive line is the best offensive line in football, in my opinion. They are ridiculously good across the board. They have no weaknesses. Ragnow, Zeitler, Glasgow, Decker, and Sewell, they are all great. They are all ranked top half. And I think 4 out of the 5 are ranked like top 10 at their position. And I think Glasgow is the only guy ranked maybe like 20 something or 30 out of like 70 or whatever, which is like, if your weakest link is like still an above average dude, like you got a great offensive line. They have no weak link. So I'm honestly not even sure how to attack a line like this. I'm hoping that maybe if some of our youthful energetic players are able to come into the game, like Taimani, LDR, Dallas Turner, maybe they can just add a little extra something. Maybe put these guys on their heels a little bit. It's something to hope for. Either that or Flo comes up with some kind of like insanely creative game plan where he like uses their strengths against them or figures out a way to like reduce their effectiveness in some way. How he would pull that off, I have no idea, but my fingers are crossed. So that's his job, not mine. So my best idea would be to maybe like just threaten pressure from everywhere, every play, and just mix and match, how many, who, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and just do it as much as humanly possible throughout the game, and just put strain on them, put stress on them, make them communicate, make them make decisions all game long, and hopefully you wear them down over time and start to maybe get some big plays against them. But this is going to be the biggest test for our defensive line of the year, because this is the best offensive line in football. They're great. And that's one of the things that makes the Lions such a great team, and a team that, I mean, in the past, the Lions have had good teams, but you're like, but it's like, yeah, they got a few good skill position guys. They got Stafford, but they made it a point to build the trenches. And when they did that, they made this a real contender. Okay, so on to the defense. So as we know, Hutchinson broke his leg. He is gone for the year. Apparently they think it's possible that he could return for the Super Bowl if they were to make the Super Bowl. Bones can't really be rushed. I mean, a bone heals when a bone heals, but he is young, and so it is possible. Of course, he'd have, the bone would need to heal, and then he would have to rehab, and then practice, get back into game shape, all that kind of stuff. So it'd be a hell of a story if it were to happen, that's for sure. And as a matter of fact, just thinking back on one of my very first shows, I talked about, I made predictions on who was going to win divisions, who was going to make playoffs, and I actually predicted Detroit. My Super Bowl pick was Baltimore and Detroit, with Baltimore winning. So I think highly of Detroit, and if they did make it, Hutch made it back for the game, that'd be a pretty great story for them. So obviously I'd prefer the Vikings make it, but if that happened, I don't know. It's hard. I have a lot of jealousy. I would have a lot of jealousy if the Lions made it. I've been a fan for 37 years. If the Lions made the Super Bowl before the Vikings did, I'd be filled with a lot of jealousy. But at the end of the day, the Lions, it would be a great story. So anyway, we'll let it play out, and whatever it is, it is. All right. So if I'm saying this correctly, I think they put him on short-term IR, because if they put him on season-ending IR, I don't know if it applies to the playoffs or not, but I think he's out for the entire year. So I think they put him on short-term IR, and I think what their hope is that obviously he'll be out for the 4 games, then they'll open up his 5-week window. Then once the 5 weeks is up, they will open up the 3-week practice window, and the date that I came up with is actually January the 6th, which is actually one day after the Lions play the Vikings in week 18. So I think if he has a chance of being re-added to the 53, I mean, I think Detroit's going to make the playoffs. That would probably be when it happens, would be right after the season ends. So we will see. I don't know. All right, so other injury notes for the Lions. Carlton Davis, their cornerback, was a DNP. Brian Branch was limited. I expect both to play. I don't think we're that lucky. Having Hutch already out, I think that's, in terms of, again, we don't want guys to get injured. But in terms of catching a lucky situation for our team in terms of the talent we're facing, obviously Hutchinson not playing benefits us. But not for a good reason, but it is what it is. That's football, right? It happens. Injuries happen. So nothing else of note on that regard. Again, I think most likely Carlton Davis and Branch play. I think Branch for sure plays. If either of the two, either one of them miss a game, it'd be Davis. They're not really great at corner, so they kind of miss him, but we'll see. Anyway, okay. So I'm very interested to see what type of a game plan KOC has in store. There's several different ways to attack this defense. They can be guilty of over pursuit, and so plays like delayed handoffs and wide receiver screens and misdirections, things like that, they tend to work on these guys. In addition, I've noticed that the deep middle is kind of a soft spot for this secondary, and so that's where Justin Jefferson thrives. And so I would expect KOC to dial up several of those types of routes for Jefferson throughout this game, and Darnold can make that throw over and over. We've seen it all year. So look for that to be a part of our game plan. Something else to keep in mind is that much like the Jets secondary, the Lions also like to play physical and grabby, and so the difference is they're not quite as talented. They don't keep quite as sticky of coverage as the Jets do, and so they'd be more obvious if they're trying to get away with that kind of stuff, right? More jersey grabbing and that kind of thing. And so, so much like in that New York Jets game in London, we could be looking at another game where Jefferson and Addison are getting flags down the field. So look for that potentially. It could be something that KOC looks to exploit if he thinks they're going to play that way. All right, so on to their defensive line. Okay, so they run a 4-3 front. The interior is very good. And they actually went five guys deep, where they had at least 5 guys all having as many as 86 plus snaps, and 4 of the 5 actually having 100 or more so far this year. Now, that probably allowed for that entire group of guys to play fresh and be active all game long. The starters are Aleem McNeil, and I think DJ Reader. Now, they've managed to keep Reader's snaps down so far this year. He's only averaging about 25 or so a game. And that probably has him playing at like peak effectiveness because he's kind of like their main run defender. Onwuzurike and Wingo are the depth guys. Both are capable rushers. Probably a little bit more rushing prowess than run defense. So the depth of the interior defensive line did take a hit with Pico actually being placed on IR. He got injured. I forget what the injury was. I was going to say torn pec, but actually I think that was Jonathan Allen of the Commanders. So anyway, so now they still have the big four guys, all of which had over the 100 snaps. 3 of those 4 guys are actually graded 69 or higher in terms of pass rush grade by PFF, which is good for 12th, 16th, and 27th respectively out of like 100 plus guys. So 3 of those 4 guys are excellent pass rushers on the interior, okay? So Reader is their most effective run defender, like I mentioned, and if he's asked to play more than he has so far this year, I think it's possible we can run on this line, especially late in the game if we just continue to pound them all game long. Now, I know that's not necessarily KOC's play calling style, but if Aaron Jones does play in this game and we do have an opportunity to kind of like run the ball throughout, there could be opportunities late in the game if it's a close game to kind of put the game away or to maybe have like a game clinching drive or something like that. Okay, and then just one other note about the pass rushing prowess of the interior line, particularly Aleem McNeil, is that this is going to be another big test for Ed Ingram, Garrett Bradbury, and Blake Brandell. They're going to be tested consistently throughout this game, and I just hope that Sam Darnold has his scrambling shoes on because he's probably going to need them. He's probably going to be on the move quite a bit in this one. However, well, before I get to that, when I look at the rest of the team on defense, the Lions defense, save for like blitzes, maybe safety blitzes, corner blitzes, or linebacker blitzes, I really don't see any other areas on this Lions defense where they can create pressure. And so if their interior defensive line does not have a good game, I think that Darnold will actually have quite a bit of time to throw. And he could, even, like I said, I think I talked about this in the Jets, before the Jets game, whereas the Jets secondary kind of proved me wrong because they were literally plastered all over our guys all game long. But typically when quarterbacks are getting time in the pocket, they can pick even good secondaries apart. Okay, and so even though there's some really good players in the secondary for this Lions defense, Darnold can pick them apart if he's got time in the pocket. So we'll see how that ends up. So, and the reason why I say that is because with Hutchinson out, they're not only going to miss his production, which was huge, but they're also going to miss his energy on the field. He was a real catalyst for them. He was always making big plays in crucial moments and always energizing the crowd and energizing the team. They're going to miss him a lot in both ways, especially emotionally. You know, he really brought a lot of emotion to that defense and fired them up. This is easily, with Hutchinson out, easily the weakest edge room we have faced all year long. There's nobody, and I mean nobody, that can match up with our tackles. I expect Darrisaw and O'Neal to have nice, clean games. And in fact, that was the point I was going to make before, was that with there really not being a lot of fear of edge rushing, I think that our tackles are going to be able to help more on the inside and maybe kind of mitigate some of that interior rush. We will see. But the outside rushers, they don't scare me at all. However, the linebackers do. They have 4 really good linebackers, and they all rotate. All of them have at least 120 snaps on the year, and they're all ranked within the top half of the league on PFF. They have Jack Campbell, Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Barnes. I forget his first name. Just a really good group. None of them are particularly good pass rushers, though, but they're all really good against the run, and they're all really good in coverage. All 4 of them. And in fact, Jack Campbell in particular, Anzalone I think has been around a while. He's pretty solid, but Campbell in particular, that's the guy they drafted last year, I think in like late first, second round, something like that. He came out, I think he might have come out of Iowa too, and I mean, forgive me if I got that wrong. That's what I'm seeing in my head, but he came out really highly regarded as a linebacker, and I think maybe people were wondering if his coverage ability was going to translate to the NFL, and I think last year not so much, but he's improved this year, and so he's a guy who is kind of ascending, and I don't know. It's like, is he worth testing in this game to see, hey, is it for real? I don't know, but Campbell's the guy to look out for in this one. All right, so the corners. This is not a particularly great group. Carlton Davis is our best corner. Tyrion Arnold, I think, is the guy they drafted last year out of Alabama. He has not been good. He's grading out as one of the worst corners in the league right now. And then Amik Robertson, who I think is kind of their slot/nickel guy. He's, kind of solid, but mostly better as like a run defender than he is in coverage. So this is a group of corners that can be beat. So again, if Darnold gets time, he can beat them. But you got to watch out for the safeties, because this is where their secondary is really good. Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph both are a big reason why their defense has been improved, is because when you throw in Hutchinson being such a force as a pass rusher, and then these two guys on the back end, they bring so much youth and excitement to this defense, because I don't know how old Hutch is, but I couldn't imagine he's more than 24 or 25 years old. Both of those safeties are under 24 years old, and they're already ranking in the top 10 in PFF grade. And in fact, both are grading out above 80 in coverage, which means they're both excellent in coverage. And so that's just insane. So Darnold needs to mind his P's and Q's in this one. He needs to really be aware of where those safeties are, because they, I think, will take advantage of mistakes. Just again, we need to protect him. He needs to be ready to scramble when necessary. If he gets that inside pressure, he needs to be really careful with the ball and not make those boneheaded type throws that he has a tendency to make. Okay, so we just hit an hour 15. I haven't done the keys to the game, so we might be going an hour and a half. All right, so I don't think I have a ton of keys. But just a few. Okay, so like I said, I think very highly of the Lions. I had them as my number 3 team in my power rankings coming into the season. I still have them at 3. I predicted them to win 12 games. I predicted them to win the North, and I predicted them to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I had their offense ranked number 1 overall in terms of talent, and the defense I had ranked at about 15th, which I think maybe they're kind of coming in around there somewhere. But I think that they'll be beatable now with Hutchinson out for at least the regular season. Even with those great safeties and those really good linebackers, I think, when you miss a great talent like that, your defense is going to suffer. So I actually do think they'll win on Sunday. It really depends, honestly. I think that if Aaron Jones plays for us, I think we can pull out a win. But I think if Aaron Jones does not play, I think the Lions get us in this one. So what really helps our cause, though, is that being at home, coming off of a bye, gives us a really good chance to win this one. Because I do think the Lions are a little bit better team than we are. Obviously, we're playing better right now, having not lost a game yet. But I think that overall they are a better team than us. And it feels like maybe those 2 weird close wins that we had, followed by a bye week, coming back from overseas, it kind of zapped some of our mojo and momentum, and kind of like the chatter that, people were really high on us. It's kind of zapped a lot of like the Darnold chatter. Nobody's really talking about him in like the MVP talks anymore. So can we bring back that necessary energy? Can we get back up for this? Okay, we can't come out flat. We got to continue to really start these games out well and come right out of the gate. And I just think that it's a big deal, because I feel like I'm sorry, that was about the coin flip, and I will get to that. I think the crowd's really going to be important in this one. I think this might be, if I'm remembering correctly, the first game at home since the Houston game, and we all know what the crowd did in the Houston game. So if you're going to the game, get loud, because we're going to need that Lions offense. Even if we could slow them down just a little bit and just gain small advantages, every little bit's going to help. So bring that same energy you did, like you did against Houston, and hopefully you guys can help get a W. So I was just really interested in the coin flip in this one, and I know I probably talk about coin flips more than anybody, but I had to go back and I had to track, because nobody really tracks it. I had to check and see what Dan Campbell does when he wins coin flips, and he's actually lost both coin flips on the road so far this year, so he didn't get a chance to choose. But on the 3 home games, he actually chose to defer twice, but he actually chose to take the ball once, and that was the game against Seattle. And so it makes me wonder. So we already know that KOC, if he wins, he's going to defer, right? So the Lions get the ball. I get the feeling like in this game, if Campbell wins the toss, I think he's going to take the ball again in this one, because I just think that he thinks momentum is going to be really important in this one. Because I think he's more of a intangibles guy, which I'm an intangibles guy, so I agree with him in that regard. KOC is more of a stats guy, more of an analytics guy. So I think either way, Detroit will be starting the game off with the ball. And I think this is a big deal because it feels like a game to me where momentum could mean everything. And if we let Detroit take the first possession, take it right down the field and score a touchdown, it could take our crowd out of it. It could dictate the whole game. And so that is a very big concern for me. So I really hope it doesn't play out that way. But I've said this earlier in the year. I think that Dan Campbell is a really good coach. I think he's the perfect personality and culture setter for Detroit. I mean, who else could have come in and turned that franchise around the way that he did? He's perfect for that city, perfect for that team. But I do think he's not the best in-game coach. He makes a lot of crazy decisions when he really doesn't need to, just because I think he's just so uber aggressive with just the way his personality is. I mean, you think KOC's aggressive. This guy's supercharged KOC. I mean, he's aggressive all the time. So I just think that he will cost them at least a game or two at some point with just kind of like weird, overly aggressive in-game coaching decisions. And hopefully, I know we had at least one, maybe even a couple happen in the past against us, and maybe he'll do it again. So I'm hoping for Campbell to have at least one or two boneheaded decisions crop up in this one. So we'll look out for that. All right, so we talked about the crowd. Tackling on defense is going to be huge. The running backs, St. Brown, Laporta, all these guys are known for breaking tackles and getting yaks. So tackling, I hope that they're really putting a focus on it this week. Super, super important. And then just like I said before, I honestly believe if Aaron Jones is healthy and he does play the entire game, I think we can win this game. I think he is the X factor, and he might really be our only true option to really exploit that Detroit defense, aside from, of course, Jefferson, who is always a threat to exploit. He always has big games against Detroit. So, but if we can't get the ball to him, if they're really bracketing the coverage and really, just blanketing him, and we can't just get the ball to him, or Darnold doesn't have enough time, if Jones is playing, that'll open things up. So, anyway, on to the score, okay, which is really hard to say, but I'm going to give you two. If there is no Aaron Jones for us, I have the Lions 21-13. If we do have Aaron Jones, I think we win 28-20. So there's your score prediction. All right. I also want to throw in my Thursday night prediction because it's Wednesday. I won't be recording again until Friday. And so tomorrow's game is Denver at New Orleans, and Denver is actually favored by 3 on the road against the Saints, and it's because of the Saints. They had a bunch of new injuries crop up. I think Olave is out with a concussion. Rashid Shaheed, I think, is out for the year with a meniscus, and of course Carr's not playing, and so the Saints are really down on their luck. Plus, they've lost 4 in a row. But I will take those points on the road, and I will actually pick both the Saints to win. Not both. Just the Saints are going to win. They're going to take those 3 points and they're going to win. And so I still don't have a lot of faith in the Broncos. I don't have a lot of faith in Bo Nix. So anyway, Saints to win. So there's your Thursday night pick. And another home dog. Saw a lot of that last week. So anyway, still on main cam. That's fine. I just want to tell you real quick. I am finally getting around to the show that I've been teasing for like 3 weeks, which is my Kwesi Adolfo. Is it Adolfo or Adolfo? I'll find out. Mensa show. I'm doing an entire hour about Kwesi, and I want to talk about our GM and the job he's done. And then on Saturday, just like I've talked about on Twitter, I'm going to do my power ranking show. I'm going to do my NFL picks for the week. And I will probably do like a scolding segment and some other fun stuff. And so I don't know if it'll be a full hour, but it'll be a fun little show. Look for that on Saturday night / Sunday morning. And so then it's time to end the show, and with the regular guy mantra, right, every single week is play vicious and be victorious. Beat the Lions. Peace.